There, you see her throwing the elbows, the red jacket? Watch her throwing elbows into the ICE officer. Bam, bam. So those elbows by the Congressman Lmonica, that's assault on a federal officer. Why do these Democrats keep thinking they can get away with crimes? Now, there is part of the budget provided for ICE, 118.47, and it says here, none of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available to the Department of Homeland Security by this act may be used to prevent any of the following persons from entering for the purpose of conducting oversight. 1, a member of Congress. 2, somebody else, an employee of Congress, or someone designated from the U.S. Senate, designated by a member of Congress. But those people have to give prior notice to enter. They have to give at least 24 hours notice. So when you see this mad crowd here, the only people, because no notice was given, no 24-hour notice was given by anybody, the only people who have a legal privilege to enter the facility for oversight purposes would be people there who are elected members of Congress. And there were a couple of those. We'll see what happened with them. Because the members of Congress, the people who were legally privileged to enter the premises for purposes of oversight. By the way, not purposes of political theater, bringing in the media and your hangers-on with you and your friend, the mayor of New York. He's not an elected member of Congress. He has no right to enter those premises. But the couple of people who did have the legal right to enter the premises, guess what? They were allowed in.
Of individuals just going about their lives in the streets.
So she's going to talk about how they got in and they looked at the facility and it looks pretty good.
We came here to see the conditions inside, and those conditions aren't bad. We don't know that everyone who is inside belongs there, but we knew that people are okay, they're safe, it's clean, they're feeding them.
So they got into the facility. The congressmen who had a privilege to get in were allowed in by ICE. So ICE isn't doing anything wrong except excluding people who did not have a right to be there. And any of those people who so much as laid a finger on ICE were committing federal assault. Did you know that in all 50 states, self-defense law, not gun law, but self-defense law, uses a simple 5-element test to see if your use of defensive force was legally justified? And that same test applies no matter what state you're in or what tool you use to defend yourself. If you're missing even one of those required elements, however, you've made yourself an easy conviction for an aggressive prosecutor. My name is Attorney Andrew Branca, and I've worked more than 30 years as a self-defense attorney. Every state has seemingly endless, complex pages of laws regarding self-defense, so complex that many top criminal defense attorneys rely on my expert analysis to help win self-defense cases for their clients. If the legal code is that complex for lawyers, how can a citizen gun owner expect to know or even follow the law, especially when a life or death situation has triggered a massive adrenaline-fueled mandate to make that fight or flight decision right now? It seems daunting. Yet I created a simple but powerful framework that has allowed me to serve the legal community and countless American gun owners to simplify this legal complexity into just 5 elements of self-defense law. And you can learn my 5-element legal algorithm I use to consult on and win with the top criminal defense attorneys all over the country to protect law-abiding, gun-owning citizens from making innocent legal missteps that land them in prison. Now, with a simple read or listen, you can install my 5-point legal framework so it acts as a sort of muscle memory defense to protect you from losing your rights when you choose to defend innocent human life. Click below to get the latest edition of my book, The Law of Self-Defense Principles, for free. I ask only that you help cover the shipping and handling cost to get the book to you. Unlike the January 6th protesters who did not enter the Capitol unlawfully, they were invited in by security, waved in. These actual insurrectionists had to force their way past the gates, past the no trespassing signs of this ICE detention facility. So here's a video clip of one of the senators, U.S. Congresswoman Lmonica McGyver. She's a federal U.S. Congresswoman out of New Jersey, and she did a little recording of herself on the way to the detention facility. Let's see what she has to say.
Hey everyone, it's your Congresswoman Lmonica McGyver representing New Jersey's 10th Congressional District. I am literally on my way right now to Delaney Hall to conduct an oversight visit here at this detention center. We've been seeing on the news all of the lack of transparency and chaos that has been coming out of this facility. They have, neglected to let city officials in, to let the mayor in. Code enforcement to fire inspectors have been denied access to this building. And as your congressional member, it is my duty to conduct an oversight visit to see what is happening inside this facility.
By the way, all those other people don't have a right to enter the facility. As we'll see, U.S. Congress people do have a right to enter the facility. It's part of oversight. It's part of the budgeting law for this kind of stuff. So this Congresswoman has a right to enter the facility. We'll see how that works out.
So I'm taking you on the journey with me. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. By the way, whenever I see these people, I always have to marvel with sympathy for our many starving oppressed in our great nation. If only we could provide people with a life-sustaining supply of calories every day, that would be awesome. So here's another video clip. This is now on scene. This is when it's become raucous and violent. The woman we just saw is, of course, the woman here in the red coat. So you'll want to keep your eyes on the red coat. She's not the only person that goes violent here, but she is prominent, as I'm sure she intended to be. The white-haired woman in the center of the photo next to Lmonica is also a U.S. Congresswoman. All right, so there's a lot of that. Let's get to the real action where the elbow throwing comes in by Lmonica McGyver against the ICE officers. Look at her throwing hands in there. So there's a violent breach of the gates, right? The gates open a little bit. These people start pushing their way through. There's maybe two people in this crowd that have legal authority to enter this premises. All the others are at the very least committing a trespass of federal property. There, you see her throwing the elbows, the red jacket? Watch her throwing elbows into the ICE officer. Bam, bam. So those elbows by the Congressman, Lmonica, that's assault on a federal officer. As this account noted on Twitter, Lmonica clearly punched a federal agent. She was throwing hands as well as the elbows. Anyone who does this is going to get manhandled because you just assaulted a federal agent. This isn't hard to understand. Why do these Democrats keep thinking they can get away with crimes? I would suggest it's because they get away with crimes. Now, there is part of the budget provided for ICE. This is a page from that document, Public Law 11847. And it says here, none of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available to the Department of Homeland Security by this act, and part of this act is this detention facility, may be used to prevent any of the following persons from entering for the purpose of conducting oversight. Any facility operated by or for the Department of Homeland Security used to detain or otherwise house aliens or to make any temporary modification at any such facility that alters what is observed by a visiting member of Congress. So who's the class of people who are allowed in, who cannot be denied entry? One, a member of Congress. Two, somebody else, an employee of Congress or someone designated from the U.S. Senate, designated by a member of Congress. But those people have to give notice, provide prior notice to enter. They have to give at least 24 hours notice. So when you see this mad crowd here, the only people, because no notice was given, no 24-hour notice was given by anybody, the only people who have a legal privilege to enter the facility for oversight purposes would be people there who are elected members of Congress. And there were a couple of those. We'll see what happened with them because the members of Congress, the people who were legally privileged to enter the premises for purposes of oversight, by the way, not purposes of political theater, bringing in the media and your hangers-on with you and your friend, the mayor of New York, he's not an elected member of Congress. He has no right to enter those premises. But the couple of people who did have the legal right to enter the premises, guess what? They were allowed in. Let's hear one of them talk about it. This is the woman with the white hair I mentioned earlier.
The fear of individuals just going about their lives in the streets.
So she's going to talk about how they got in and they looked at the facility and it looks pretty good.
We came here to see the conditions inside, and those conditions aren't bad. We don't know that everyone who is inside belongs there, but we knew that people are okay, they're safe, it's clean, they're feeding them.
So they got into the facility. The congressmen who had a privilege to get in were allowed in by ICE. So ICE isn't doing anything wrong except excluding people who did not have a right to be there. And any of those people who so much as laid a finger on ICE were committing federal assault. Any of those people who did not have a privilege to enter, actually anybody, whether you have a privilege to enter or not, who touches an ICE agent is committing federal assault on those officers. Say these congresswomen had been denied entry. Well, that would be wrong. They could go to court. They could get an order from a court allowing them in. But just because someone is committing an arguable legal violation by not letting a congresswoman in does not give you the privilege to commit physical assault upon them. That would be insane. You enforce those rights in court. There's no legal justification for the use of force because an ICE agent didn't let you into a detention facility when you were a U.S. congressperson. It doesn't give you a right to go into a melee. And not everyone here was legally privileged to enter, including the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Mayor Ross Baraka. He stormed the ICE detention facility, forced his way past the gate, was repeatedly asked to remove himself, refused, and ultimately got arrested for trespass and handcuffed and brought in. So let's see. There he is. Here's a video of that happening.
You cannot push it. You cannot Congress. You cannot push it. Congress. Get over her.
It's so funny hearing them scream, "This is peaceful," as they're throwing hands at ICE security. If it was peaceful, why are you screaming? Then we have an interview here from Fox News talking about this. Is New Jersey, the U.S. attorney, so Trump's U.S. attorney, nominated and confirmed by the Senate for the District of New Jersey, has a few words to say about this on Fox News.
The mayor was outside the fence and that he was taken away by 20 armed individuals and that they were all intimidated by federal officials on this property. What do you say?
I'm going to say the truth and correct them. I'm sorry that you're trying to politic this. Let me be very clear. You're right. Congress people have the right to investigate, and we allowed them in, number one. Number two.
You hear that? Congress people have the right to investigate, and we allowed them in. The people with the legal privilege to come in were let in.
The mayor was actually inside the facility, was warned, was asked to leave several times, more than once, refused to leave, was put under arrest inside the facility, walked out when he was told he was under arrest, and then was cuffed. That is what.
Yeah, so that's like when you catch a shoplifter and they say, and you catch them as they're walking out the door, you drag them back into the loss prevention office to have the cops talk with them. And they say, "Oh, I'm willing to pay for the clothes now. The stuff I was stealing. Or I'll just leave all that stuff with you. I'll just go home now." No, the crime's already been committed. You're still subject to arrest. And if somehow you manage to walk out into the parking lot, you're still subject to getting cuffed up. You committed the offense. So this mayor broke through the fence, trespassed, was told he was trespassing, needed to leave, refused to leave. And then they said, "All right, then you're under arrest." Just the statement means you are under arrest. It's not the handcuffing that does it. It's the assertion of the arrest. You are under arrest. And the handcuffing comes next. So before they could cuff him, he stepped out of the fence. And that's where they cuffed him. And he's trying to suggest that, my God, I wasn't even on the property when I was arrested for for trespassing.
That happened.
Nonsense.
Lucky for our team in HSI, who I stand behind, who many people don't understand, the Department of Justice encompasses that. They did absolutely everything correct. If you look at these individuals' Twitter accounts, they have been openly saying they are going to go in. There is a reason these Congress people are standing out there running amok and running their mouths as usual. But however, I will tell you this. The mayor was inside, was told he was going to be under arrest inside when he refused to leave after several obligations, several notifications that he should remove himself, chose not to do so, and then was placed under arrest when he walked out of the facility. So while I love the scheme, the game, and the tactics of these individuals that are perfectly fine and were not touched, I will say very clearly, the mayor
They were
did
not
have a right to be
assaulted,
there.
these three individuals? None of them were assaulted.
Does
This
it
is
look
what they
like they
said.
were assaulted, Martha?
No, they looked
Does it look
fine.
like
But
looked
I'm
absolutely
asking,
fine?
in terms of what happened in there, it is very striking, especially after having read the list of at least some of the people who are in this facility. And
Right.
I'm trying to figure out exactly what they are doing to protect the people of New Jersey.
It's called grandstanding, unfortunately, Martha. And when you break the law, there's no grandstanding that will help you, period.
So what was the mayor charged with? Interestingly enough, there is a federal statute. Apparently, there's not a good federal trespassing statute for this property. It's not part of the Bureau of Prisons. It's not part of the White House grounds. There are particularly protected pieces of federal property that have their own trespassing statute, but this appears not to be one of those. And when the federal government does not have a specific criminal charge as part of the federal code, what they can do under this provision of law, Title 18, Section 13, is they can apply the state law that's relevant to the jurisdiction in federal court. And that's what they've done here. So they applied 18 U.S.C. 13, which allows them to then apply New Jersey statute 2C 18-3, which is the New Jersey state trespassing statute. They bring it into federal court and apply it as if it were federal law. And of course, the basis here is just that he came into the property without license, was asked to leave, didn't leave. Now, I will say that New Jersey statute for trespassing, it's only a petty misdemeanor. I mean, it's one step above a speeding ticket. But the charges the others are looking at, not for mere trespassing, but because they went hands-on with the federal officers, include this one: assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. And these ICE officers here would qualify. Anyone who forcibly assaults, resists, opposes, impedes, intimidates, interferes with any relevant federal officer, and these are when they're engaged in the carrying out of their duties. Anyone who assaults or intimidates any person who formerly, that wouldn't apply here. The first paragraph applies. These officers in the performance of their duties shall, where the acts in violation of this section constitute only simple assault, be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. Or where such acts involve physical conduct with the victim of that assault, or the intent to commit another felony, be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 8 years. So the assault is putting one of these officers in fear of harm, like you raise a fist like you're going to punch him, but you don't actually make physical conduct. That would be a fine or a misdemeanor sentence. But if you make physical contact, and they don't call it a battery here, but an assault with physical conduct is a battery, you're looking at 8 years in prison. And these congresswomen, especially the one in the red coat throwing elbows into these ICE agents, she's not legally privileged to strike them because she's asserting a right to enter the property. That's not a justification for the use of force. So if she's properly charged, she's looking at an 8-year federal prison sentence. And federal time, folks, is real time. Real time. There's not much time off for good behavior. By the way, this statute, 18 U.S.C. 111, was one of the common statutes thrown at the January 6th protesters for sentences of years and years and years in federal prison. And of course, the Democrats applauded that application of 18 U.S.C. 111, sometimes for January 6th protesters who merely touched an officer that day. Years in federal prison. How about this one? Another statute, 18 U.S.C. 2384, seditious conspiracy. Clearly, this group was there conspiring to commit these acts, to commit this forcible entry. This reads, if two or more persons in any state conspire to overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the government of the U.S. or levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof. Were these people opposing by force the authority of these ICE agents? I think so. To prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the U.S., or by force to seize, take, or possess any property. Are they taking a possession of property when they trespass on the property of the United States contrary to the authority thereof? They shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years. This is a 20-year federal felony. Now, are they going to face charges? That's one of the dilemmas we have in America's body politic today. Is it seems the bad guys are never held accountable, and the people who, the men and women who love America, are held severely accountable for the most minor of infractions. But we have some statements here from the Trump White House about this. Let's see what they have to say.
We should.
And by the way, the fact that they haven't been charged with felonies yet, that the mayor of Newark hasn't been charged with federal felonies yet, doesn't mean they can't be. I assure you, there are prosecutors looking at every second of all the video footage available, looking for evidence that would support a federal felony charge.
We should let viewers know there will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video of members of Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Definitely on the table. I'd love to see it happen. Thanks for watching this highlight segment of our full-length Law of Self-Defense live stream. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to give us a like and subscribe for more expert analysis on politics, law, and how to be hard to convict. And to watch the full-length episode of this show, just click right here. Stay safe.